Chapter 46-51. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips slightly as her long and narrow eyes seemed to be rippling with a faint glow. She didn't make a sound. But the ladies by the side were all panicking. One by one, they looked at Yiqing Luo pleadingly, anxiously trying to grab onto this last life-saving straw. Yiqing Luo remained silent for a moment as her breathing paused slightly. "I can save you, but after you leave this house, the ending is entirely up to you." She didn't feel that she could bring 30 over ladies and escape from this place. She could save them. But whether they could leave or not, they could only depend on their own ability and fate. After getting the ladies' agreement, Yiqing Luo bent over and untied all their ropes. The ladies forced themselves to calm down. They moved their hands and feet which had been tied for a long time, then looked at Yiqing Luo resolutely. "Thank you, miss, for saving our lives. If there's a chance, we will definitely repay you." Yiqing Luo waved her hand. "Whether you can leave safely is still a problem. Elder Wu is now refining witchcraft in the courtyard next door. The rest is up to you." Saying that, she quietly approached the door, preparing to leave. Wu Che followed behind her. "Miss, are you here to deal with Elder Wu? Why don't we join hands?" Yiqing Luo's gaze swept past her. "I'm just passing by, saving them on the way." Wu Che didn't expect her to reply in this way as he was slightly stunned. And this stunned Yiqing Luo had already walked out of the room. The other ladies had all fled the house. Whether those ladies could escape or not, this was not something Yiqing Luo could care about. Her vision looked towards Elder Wu's courtyard. Then she headed towards the courtyard. Wu Che followed up again, his face full of pleading. "Miss, since you're willing to save everyone, you must be a kind-hearted person. Please help me. I can't beat her." Yiqing Luo replied very straightforwardly. "If you're not Elder Wu's opponent, I can give you a piece of advice." Wu Che, "What?" "Go back to the witchcraft family and find someone with stronger ability to deal with her." Yiqing Luo's lips curled. "Can you move aside now?" Wu Che pursed her lips and a tearful expression appeared on her beautiful face. I don't want to go back to the witchcraft family. I want to prove that I'm about to inherit the witchcraft family not because my father is the leader of the witchcraft family, but because of my ability. So I must complete this mission. I want to capture Elder Wu and bring her back." Wu Che stubbornly raised her head, her beautiful eyes focused. "Miss, as long as you're willing to help me, it's equivalent to helping the entire witchcraft family. The witchcraft family will fulfill any request you have." The woman's tone was sincere. Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. Her smile deepened and she slowly shook her head. "I'm sorry, I really can't help you with this." She walked past Wu Che and walked away. Miss, I beg you." Wu Che's eyes reddened as he pounced towards Yiqing Luo. Just as Wu Che was about to touch Yiqing Luo, a dazzling red glow emitted from Yiqing Luo's body. Wu Che's entire body was struck by the red light and he fell to the ground. A voodoo goo worm about the size of a fingernail landed beside her feet. Wu Che's face turned pale and blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. She frantically climbed up from the ground and stretched out her hand in an attempt to grab that witchcraft worm. But just as she moved, a ray of black light struck over. That witchcraft worm instantly split into pieces. Wu Che was so shocked that she shrank back and raised her head, staring at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. Why did you suddenly attack me?" "Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading." Big smiley face. Chapter 46-52. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she looked down at her condescendingly. That pair of long and narrow eyes glowed. An eerie chill seeped out from it. Perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo's imposing manner was too overbearing. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo's gaze was too terrifying. Wu Che felt as if an ice-cold venomous snake had crawled across her back, before slowly wrapping around her neck. That gaze was extremely horrifying. Wu Che's face turned slightly pale as her slender fingers clenched into a fist as she stared at her unblinkingly. Miss. If you look at me like that, I will be afraid. If you know that you're afraid, then don't come over to court death. Yiqing Luo looked at her indifferently without any expression on her face. Wu Che shrank her neck in fear as she felt an inexplicable chill in her heart. But when she saw that Yiqing Luo was about to leave, she gritted her teeth as she spoke out timidly, "Miss, I only hope that you can help me. No other meaning." Yiqing Luo's footsteps paused slightly, looking at the lady who was sprawled on the ground with a pale face and a timid look. She found it funny. "Do you think that everyone is an idiot?" Wu Che was stunned as her petite body trembled unconsciously. "You? What do you mean? Don't you feel tired after acting for so long?" Yiqing Luo's gaze was calm as she looked at her. "Wu Che, don't think too highly of yourself." Wu Che sat on the ground as she lowered her head for a long time. After a moment of silence, she then slowly stood up from the ground. She raised her eyes to look at Yiqing Luo. Her face was no longer filled with the pleading expression but was calm. Wu Che frowned as she stared at Yiqing Luo as though she wanted to stare at her. "How did you know?" "Because you're stupid," Yiqing Luo replied impolitely. Looking at the lady's expression changed. Yiqing Luo's smile deepened as though she was ridiculing. "Your story is simply too lousy and full of loopholes. How can anyone believe it?" "What loopholes?" Wu Che pursed her lips as her expression turned ugly. "I'm not lying. Old Wu was indeed chased out by the witchcraft family." "Yes, this is indeed not a lie." Yiqing Luo simply didn't intend to leave as she leaned her back against the door and crossed her arms in front of her chest. "But, you've left out a point. You are not the daughter of some witchcraft family head. You're also someone who was chased out by the witchcraft family head." "No. I'm not." Wu Che's expression changed abruptly as he bellowed at Yiqing Luo malevolently. "I am the clan leader's daughter. I am the future successor of the witchcraft family. It was those people from the witchcraft family who wanted to deprive me of my rights. For the sake of power, they framed me and Grandma. It's them, it's their fault." This angry roar. The surrounding girls who were quietly trying to escape were all startled. All of them stared blankly at Wu Che and Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo's peripheral vision swept past those ladies. He took a step forward. He stood in front of Wu Che. That petite figure emitted an oppressive might that shocked people's hearts. Yiqing Luo's gaze was like the frost that had condensed into ice. "I don't really care what your identity is." Yiqing Luo met Wu Che's slightly crazed eyes without blinking as her pink lips curled into a faint smile. "Do you know where your biggest problem lies?" "Where?" Wu Che stared at her maliciously. "You said you're the first person to be locked in the room." Yiqing Luo's slender fingers stroked her chin lightly. "Dear, this chapter has ended. I wish you a happy reading." Big smiley face. Chapter 46-53. Wu Che, what's wrong with that? After experiencing the death of so many test goo specimens, batch after batch of newcomers came in. "You actually don't have the slightest bit of fear." Yiqing Luo shook her head and sighed. "Don't use the excuse that you're the daughter of the head of the witchcraft clan and you're already used to witchcraft as an excuse. Because all the ladies here are not weak cultivators. These profound practitioners are so terrified that they're crying. As for you, you're too calm." Yiqing Luo's gaze suddenly turned sharp. "Your composure. Either you have the confidence to make a comeback, so you don't need to worry. Or, you are very clear that old Wu will not hurt you, so you have nothing to fear." That sharp gaze caused Wu Che's body to weaken. "However, after you escaped from that house, you directly asked for my help, hoping that I could help you capture old Wu." The smile on Yiqing Luo's lips was like a blooming rose, revealing a seductive charm. "This means that you don't have the confidence to make a comeback. That is to say, the reason why you are not afraid is the latter." Wu Che was forced to stick close to the door. His breathing was short and rapid. "Ha, you're quite meticulous." Wu Che gritted her teeth and sneered. Yiqing Luo slowly withdrew her oppressive aura and between her brows, a layer of laziness once again spread out. "You still have a fatal loophole." She chuckled and waved the feather fan at Wu Chei's chest. Since Elder Wu knows that you are the daughter of the head of the witchcraft family, how could he not search you? How could they let you plant witchcraft on your body? Wu Chei had said, I still have a lot of witchcraft goo on me that I can deal with Elder Wu. She probably only felt that there was something wrong with Wu Chei. He would not associate Wu Chei with Venerable Wu. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose. You and Old Wu are originally together, right? You disguised yourself as a captured victim just to keep an eye on those girls, in case someone like me appears and rescues them, right? Wu Chei leaned against the wall bit by bit and stood up straight. She smiled and said, You're very smart. Yiqing Luo chuckled, You're flattering me. Wu Chei's smile became a little more evil, however, you are too confident. Do you think that I left you here just to listen to your nonsense? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. There wasn't a hint of panic on her face, but instead she laughed. Then, why do you think I'm here, talking nonsense with you? Wu Chei's complacent smile froze at the corners of his mouth. She seemed to understand something, and her expression suddenly changed. Fiercely pushing Yiqing Luo away, he looked around. There was no sign of a woman in the surroundings. Not a single one of the 30 or so young girls who had been captured had escaped. You. Wu Chei pointed at Yiqing Luo furiously. It was her, she had deliberately attracted her attention. Then, he created an opportunity for those girls to escape. Wu Chei bit into the pig's fingertips and angrily rebuked, But, you can't escape either. This is not up to you to decide. Yiqing Luo smiled and blinked her eyes. Then, he suddenly took a step back. In other words, it was in the time it took for her to retreat. A profound wave from the corner of the wall, blotting out the sky and covering the earth, directly pressed down. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The place where Yiqing Luo was standing earlier collapsed into a huge deep pit. And Yiqing Luo. At this moment, she had already retreated to the top of a wall. Chapter 46-54. Her fluttering red dress, under the surging profound wave, was like a dancing flame, blossoming with dazzling sparks. Her jet-black long hair swayed with the wind. And in front of Wu Chei, a stooped figure appeared. A black cloak covered that small figure. On the other side, stood that young man from secluded palace. Grandma. Wu Chei lowered his head, as he pursed his lips in guilt. I'm sorry, Grandma, I let them escape. Elder Wu stretched out his hand, as he patted Wu Chei's head. Don't worry, those test subjects will not be able to escape. Her tone was very certain. After that, when he looked at Yiqing Luo, his sinister eyes were filled with ridicule. Young lady, you are really daring, single-handedly, daring to come to my turf to snatch people. That gaze was like a poisonous snake. It opened its scarlet red mouth, as though in the next moment, it would bite her neck. When she was face to face with Elder Wu, Yiqing Luo felt an enormous pressure from Elder Wu. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. But on the surface, she maintained her calm, as her red lips curled slightly, smiling indifferently. Who told you that I am alone? When Elder Wu heard that, his gaze swept across the surroundings. Then he looked at the young man. The young man shook his head. There is no one else in the courtyard. Elder Wu then shifted his gaze back to Yiqing Luo. Young lady, this kind of lie, it will be seen through. If you are not alone, then how many people are there? Yiqing Luo took a look behind her. I have so many people here, can't you see? Would I be so silly to come here alone to act like a hero? Elder Wu's expression changed slightly, as his sinister gaze stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. Young lady, don't play tricks. Her black cloak suddenly fluttered. A thick profound yin qi suddenly attacked Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo leaped, as the feather fan on her fingertips rotated, as a torrent surged out. Following that, her figure retreated 2 steps. Bam! 2 profound waves collided in midair. It shook the surrounding buildings, as it rumbled. The profound waves brushed past, creating intense sparks. At the moment when it exploded, Yiqing Luo was already standing at a place outside the attack range. Venerable Wu's expression changed slightly. He looked up at the young girl on the wall and was secretly surprised. This girl, his strength was actually not weak. It was no wonder that Che would suffer a loss at her hands. Venerable Wu glanced sideways at the young man beside him. The man understood and pounced towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as the feather fan in her hands shot out profound rays. Boundless profound light flashed across her fingertips. The young man's ability wasn't weak, but he totally couldn't touch Yiqing Luo at all. Elder Wu shielded Wu Che behind him and glanced sideways at her. When did that woman come over? Grandma, she is. Wu Che stared at the young lady in red, his lips trembled as he said word by word, she is the one whom Lord mentioned. Yiqing Luo. She was dressed in red and had jet black hair. She was devastatingly beautiful. A red fan, twirling at the tip of one's finger, could defeat a magnificent army. No wonder that girl could see through her lies at a glance. No wonder that young girl, even though she knew that Ji Yunshu wanted her to stay, she still stayed fearlessly. Because that young girl was Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, whom even Lord was unable to gain any advantage over. Elder Wu frowned as he raised his head to look at the young girl who had already suppressed the young man. She is Yiqing Luo. Chapter 46-55. Wu Che held Elder Wu's hand tightly. Grandma, we must be careful. She has people from the witchcraft family around her. Earlier I wanted to take the opportunity to poison her, but she actually destroyed my witchcraft worm. Generally speaking, the witchcraft worm that they refined was indestructible. How could it be destroyed so easily? But earlier, Yiqing Luo only used her feather fan and tapped it lightly. Her witchcraft worm had completely exploded. Elder Wu's brows sunk slightly as if he thought of something and said to Wu Che, go to the courtyard where Grandma refined the witchcraft worm and bring that pot over. Wu Che was stunned, but Grandma, the test subject has already run away. Elder Wu's gaze fell onto the young man who had been kicked to the ground by Yiqing Luo as he smiled sinisterly. Isn't there another one over there? Isn't he Grandma's boy toy? Wu Che thought that his grandma was very fond of that man. He had not expected that. Grandma was actually willing to use him as a test subject. Elder Wu caressed Wu Che's face nonchalantly. He's just a lackey sent by the secluded palace to monitor us. If he dies, someone else will take over. Wu Che nodded and headed towards the courtyard. After sending the young man flying with a kick, Yiqing Luo's gaze fell onto Wu Che. The direction that Wu Che was heading towards was the direction where Elder Wu refined the witchcraft worm. Just one look and Yiqing Luo already knew Elder Wu's plan. She scoffed lightly as she slowly landed on the ground. Her charming eyes stared at Elder Wu. Trying to use your witchcraft worm to deal with me? Are you sure that your semi-finished product will succeed? Young lady, I know you are related to the Miaogu family. But in terms of witchcraft poison, the Miaogu family is definitely not as good as the witchcraft family. When Elder Wu mentioned this sentence, his head subconsciously raised slightly. This also showed her confidence in witchcraft worm. Yiqing Luo's fingers lightly tapped on her fingertips as she replied indifferently, but you are merely someone who was chased out by the witchcraft family, so you are no longer one of them. What happens between the witchcraft family and the Miaogu family has nothing to do with you. These words caused Elder Wu's sinister eyes to overflow with an eerie chill. Little girl, you're still too inexperienced to provoke me. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose as she looked at old Wu's sinister face under his cloak, as a meaningful look flashed past her eyes. He then probed, does the witchcraft family know that you are working for the Palace of Darkness? Or, the witchcraft family kicked you out because you worked for the Palace of Darkness? The person behind the scenes of the Dark Shadow Palace was best at passing down forbidden techniques to the people he wanted to use to achieve their own goals. As for this sorcerer elder, he had once used forbidden sorcery to refine sorcery. Could there be any connection between them? Little girl, are you trying to trick me? Even if I tell you, what can you do? Venerable Wu laughed coldly, as if he was mocking her with disdain. Venerable Wu was rather magnanimous as he said straightforwardly, yes, the heart-devouring goo in your brother-in-law's body was planted by me. Other than me, no one can remove the goo in his body. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly constricted. Her petite body also tensed up. She wanted to find out the problem regarding Long Yunzhan from old Wu's mouth. The goo in Zhan's body. It was planted by old Wu. Initially when Miao Ji helped her to find out news regarding the heart-devouring goo, she had told her, "Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading." Big smiley face. Chapter 46-56. If she wanted to detoxify the heart-devouring goo on Zhan. To detoxify the goo, she needed the person who planted it. Which meant she must let Elder Wu help Zhan to detoxify the goo. What Elder Wu said wasn't wrong. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as her long and narrow eyes swept up a storm. Why do you want to do this? The young lady's voice was strangely icy cold. Elder Wu smirked sinisterly. Who can reject his lord's request? Elder Wu paused for a moment as his gaze towards Yiqing Luo was filled with contempt and ridicule. Young lady, don't think too highly of yourself. In the end, the reason why the people around you are in this state is all because of you. His lord's target is you, so. Long Yunzhan was planted with the heart-devouring goo and had his memories wiped. Everything was all because of you. If it wasn't for you, how could Long Yunzhan possibly experience all these painful things? Elder Wu kept on laughing sinisterly. Every single word that came out of his mouth was like a sharp silver needle, piercing into Yiqing Luo's heart. I remember that human dragon. Back then when I planted the goo on him, he was still a little human dragon and had always been by his lord's side. Later on, that little human dragon suddenly disappeared. Even the heart-devouring goo which I planted on him could not sense it. I thought that little human dragon had offended his lord and was killed by his lord. I'd not expected. His lord had wiped away his memories and threw him into the lower realm, Nirvana. To let a little human dragon, Nirvana, with a brand new identity, to grow until today. Do you know what's the most painful thing? After old Wu asked this question, he looked mockingly at Yiqing Luo whose expression had changed. The sinister smile on his sinister face became even more obvious. The most painful thing is Long Yunzhan remembers everything that you had experienced in the past. Remembers the feelings between you. But he had to pick up his weapon and face you. Yiqing Luo's petite figure shook violently as she took a step back. The expression on her face was deathly pale. Her slender fingers clenched tightly into a fist. She wanted to suppress the emotions that were raging in her chest. However, she couldn't control herself at all. He had always been proud of his ability to control his emotions, but at this moment, he was completely controlled by his emotions. He had to admit it. Every word that Venerable Wu had said pierced into the point that she was concerned about in the depths of her heart. Old Wu looked at Yiqing Luo's expression as he laughed sarcastically. I heard from Lord that you value friendship the most, right? So, shouldn't you obediently let him kill you in order for your brother to complete his mission? As she said that, she raised her withered black hand and touched her half-sunken chin. Or should I say, you killed that little dragon. This way, it can be considered as freeing him, and freeing yourself. Bang! The moment the old Wu's voice fell, the girl raised her glowing flame fan, and the sharp edge of the wall suddenly exploded. Ripples appeared in the air. The attack was powerful and domineering. The Venerable Wu arched his body and leaped up like a bat. The wave brushed past Venerable Wu and landed on the ground. A huge black hole was blasted open. You, shut up. The young lady's voice was hoarse, revealing endless viciousness. She stood in the air as her red dress fluttered in the wind. Her slender fair hand held the glowing flame fan as she pointed it at old Wu. I will not give up on my brother. And I will not give up on myself. This book came from Chapter 46-57. No matter what Ajahn chooses, I will not hurt him and I will not let him hurt any of my brothers. He is my brother, I understand him more than any of you. If he really made a move and hurt anyone in the world group, that would be the real pain for him. No matter what you want to use Ajahn for, I will not let you get what you want. Yiqing Luo's eyes glowed with determination. Every single word was from the bottom of her heart. Elder Wu listened to Yiqing Luo's words. He went into a blank for a moment before he sneered, "A young lady is indeed a young lady, still believing in the brotherhood." Her eyes and brows seemed to be filled with a large expanse of darkness. A sinister aura spread out in her eyes. Wu Che had already moved that basin over. Elder Wu snatched the basin and stretched out his hand to grab a handful of it. Following that, the black profound Yin Qi encircled the witchcraft worm and led it directly onto the young man who had been kicked onto the ground by Yiqing Luo. The man's eyes widened as he looked at Elder Wu in terror, his eyes filled with disbelief. After the witchcraft worm entered his body, the young man cried out miserably as he stretched out his hand towards Elder Wu, pleading for help. But Elder Wu didn't show any signs of reluctance or pity. Instead, it was a heartless coldness. Very quickly, the man was like the first young lady who tested the worm, as his entire body turned black. That was one after another witchcraft worm as it started to spread out in his body. Ah. Ah ah. The young man's mouth started to emit a beastly howl. His voice was hysterical, as though he was a trapped beast. His body started to climb up from the ground bit by bit. He was as stiff as a mummy. Just like the young lady earlier, both his hands pounded the ground hard, as though he was venting something. This scene caused Wu Che to shrink back behind Elder Wu. Elder Wu patted Wu Che's back lightly as his lips curled into a sinister sneer. "Young lady, let me show you the power of witchcraft worms." She gave the order. That mummy-like man swiftly pounced towards Yiqing Luo. His jet-black body was filled with tiny witchcraft worms. The man's attacks were disorganized, but they were extremely destructive. They exchanged blows. The feeling he gave Yiqing Luo was a wild beast that had escaped its restraints was attacking its prey. The man seemed to have gone mad. After a dozen moves, Yiqing Luo had completely confirmed this matter. The man didn't even touch the corner of her clothes. The entire courtyard was smashed into smithereens. His destructive power was frighteningly strong. Yiqing Luo retreated to the side of the roof which was still intact, as she squinted her eyes, searching for the fatal weakness. Elder Wu raised his head and looked at her. His face was filled with a sinister smile. "Little girl, you are so loyal. I really want to try. If I put these witchcraft insects on your brothers, what will happen to you?" Elder Wu raised his head and looked at her. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as her 5 fingers gripped the glower flame fan tightly. "I will not give you this chance." "That's hard to say." Elder Wu's eyes lit up as if he had found an interesting toy. Then, 5 withered fingers stretched out from the cloak. She seemed to have touched something in the air. Then she pulled it with all her might. "Before this, why don't you try? Are you able to harden your heart to deal with these innocent women?" Looking at Elder Wu's actions, listening to Elder Wu's words. This book came from Chapter 46-58. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly quivered, as though she had realized something. She quickly looked around. As expected, the next moment, numerous slender figures flew back from the outside of the wall. After that, one after another, they fell onto the ground. They were the young ladies who had escaped earlier. After falling onto the ground, some of the ladies swiftly climbed up from the ground. When they turned their heads and saw Elder Wu, their expressions suddenly changed. You. What's the matter? Why are we back? Haven't we already escaped?" The ladies were extremely shocked as they climbed up from the ground. Their gazes towards Elder Wu were filled with fear. As they were shocked. As they turned around and tried to escape. But the next moment. Elder Wu's cloak shook. They only felt something cold seeping into their bodies. And then. They lost all consciousness. Yiqing Luo, who was on the roof, stared downwards. Those young ladies had turned into a patch of pitch black, each of them were like dried corpses as they stood up shakily. Her pupils, slowly widened. The anger beneath her eyes was burning fiercely. Her slender fingers clenched tightly. His smooth and round fingertips were deeply embedded into his flesh, leaving behind large patches of half-arc marks. Elder Wu looked at Yiqing Luo mockingly, using words bit by bit to hook Yiqing Luo's heart. Young lady. These ladies, originally didn't need to die so early. But. Because of you, because of your own decision, because of your self-righteous self-confidence. Her voice, deliberately lowered slowly. Hoarse and sharp. But it had a bewitching feeling. Yiqing Luo. They all died because of you. It's you, who caused their deaths, it's you. Who made them become like this. Elder Wu stuffed the basin back into Wu Chei's hands. After that, he raised both his hands. A thick profound yin qi lingered around her palms. Slowly turning into a thin line, it merged into those ladies' bodies. Then, his arms moved. Those ladies flew towards Yiqing Luo. Pitch black faces, stiff like dried corpses. All of them made Yiqing Luo's body stiffen slightly as she suddenly retreated backwards. Yiqing Luo, you're such a sentimental and righteous person, facing these people who had turned into such a state because of you. Are you able to be ruthless? Venerable Wu's tone was filled with mockery and ridicule. As though he was mocking Yiqing Luo, would she not dare to retaliate because of the so-called friendship? Facing those women, they attacked like wild beasts. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased tightly as she speedily evaded. The glowing flame fan at his fingertips swept up a powerful current. The dazzling profound waves were like streaks of red light that drew gorgeous arcs as she circulated them. Her hand moved forward. The devouring flame fan flew out from his palm. It formed a whirlwind in midair. The red arc also quickly swam among the women. Quickly, they surrounded the women. Old Wu apparently didn't expect that Yiqing Luo would really make a move. However, he was stunned for a while. She laughed out loudly. The affectionate and loyal Yiqing Luo, in the end, is merely a greedy and cowardly person. Facing these Gu test subjects that became like this because of you, you actually have no remorse at all. Ha ha ha. She laughed loudly, as though proving Yiqing Luo's cold-blooded heartlessness. She laughed extremely complacently. He could tell. Elder Wu had once suffered a setback because of the so-called affectionate and loyal people. Chapter 46-59. The young lady's slender fingers closed the glower flame fan abruptly. The majestic dark force exploded with a loud bang. Those ladies who were entangled by the arc of light. They were instantly blown away by the profound wave and fell onto the ground. In just a moment, they turned into a pile of white bones. Her actions had no hesitation at all. There was not the slightest bit of emotion on that absolutely gorgeous face. After that, the young lady slowly shot her charming eyes towards Elder Wu. Her pink lips curled into a ridiculing arc. The young lady's clear voice clearly entered Elder Wu's ears. Your method, in my eyes, is too low level. Did you think that just based on a few words of yours, you can bewitch me? Her smile deepened, like a peach blossom, elegant and rippling. You seem to think too highly of me. I don't feel that I'm the one who caused their deaths. That overbearing aura pressed downwards. Elder Wu's expression sunk, as he couldn't believe that he had miscalculated. Don't quibble over your actions. Elder Wu gritted his teeth and roared, if it wasn't for your meddling and letting these ladies go, they would at least be able to live for a long period of time. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. They wanted to escape, so I merely lent them a hand. After they leave, their life and death will depend on their own luck. What has it got to do with me? She had saved them, so she had to arrange everything clearly. Helping them to leave that house was a favor. What happened next was their own life. What would happen in the end? It had nothing to do with her. Elder Wu had turned them into puppets controlled by the witchcraft worm. That was their fate. Endangering her life. She took action and killed them. It was merely survival of the fittest. There was nothing to be soft-hearted about. Her eyes glowed faintly as her lips curled into a smile. I'm afraid Elder Wu didn't hear the mastermind from Secluded Palace talking about me. I have never been a good person. Elder Wu apparently didn't expect his plan to fail. Instantly, he flew into a rage out of humiliation as he directed the other ladies and that young man to pounce towards Yiqing Luo. While she grabbed a bunch of witchcraft worm in her hand as her black cloak moved. She was like a bat as she scurried into midair, taking the opportunity to attack Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was already prepared for old witch's actions. He opened his glowing flame fan and slashed away the puppets controlled by the witchcraft goo. He then leaped into the air. Sogu reading URL. Chapter 4660. That's Granny underestimating the enemy. Elder Wu stared sinisterly at the person who had already disappeared. The expression on his face was treacherous and no one could tell what he was thinking about. Wu Che opened his mouth but on seeing Elder Wu's expression, he shut his mouth. Elder Wu's fingers tightened bit by bit as he clenched his teeth and sneered, next time, I will let her know the power of witchcraft. Yiqing Luo's figure had just left that courtyard and landed on the ground. Her slender waist was hooked by a pair of strong arms and brought into an embrace. An elegant sandalwood fragrance entered her nostrils. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as her arms encircled the man's neck behind her. You're here. Dmo Xian pinched the young lady's waist. Did you have fun? When did you find me? Yiqing Luo's lips curled into an arc as she leaned forward and touched his thin lips lightly. Dmo Xian held the young lady tightly in his arms. It was when you were preaching to that old woman. The man's strength was a little strong. Yiqing Luo could feel his displeasure right now. She used her head to bump against his chest as she beamed. Don't worry, I didn't talk too much with Zhu Wu Xian. You have his scent on you. The man's muffled voice floated down from the top of her head. Yiqing Luo hugged his waist as her chin rested on his chest as she raised her head. You can't blame me for this. He suddenly appeared and abducted me away. Before I could even react, I was already brought here. Along the way, I will definitely be tainted with his scent. Saying that, her little body rubbed against the man's arms for a while. All right, now my body is filled with your scent. That tone was filled with the feeling of coaxing his own war pet. Dmo Xian suddenly locked her waist tightly, not allowing her to move. Stop rubbing. The man leaned against her neck as his hot breath spurted out. His voice was filled with a sexy low charm. Yiqing Luo blinked as her long and narrow eyes overflowed with teasing. Are you sure you still want to hug me? Dmo Xian bit her ear. If you continue, I won't be courteous anymore. Yiqing Luo giggled but still laid in his arms obediently. Until the man picked her up by the waist. Yiqing Luo laid in his arms and pinched his face. It's done so quickly. Whether I'm fast or not, you don't know. Dmo Xian bit her finger. It was very light and ticklish. Yiqing Luo raised her head at him. Are you a dog? Keep biting me? Dmo Xian hugged her tightly and leapt up, steadily landing on little Nine's back. He still did not let go of her. He continued to hold her in his arms. As he lowered his head, his low and hoarse voice was transmitted into Yiqing Luo's ears. Just you wait. She gnashed her teeth and threatened in a low, charming voice. This made Yiqing Luo smile even more brightly. The two of them were laughing and fooling around. Little Nine sent them back to the old city. Xiao Jin and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Yiqing Luo safe and sound. Yiqing Luo inquired about the situation earlier. That's about it. After she was kidnapped by Zhu Wuxin. Dmo Xian flew into a rage. The Grand Elder and Long Yunzhan quickly retreated. Dmo Xian followed Yiqing Luo's breathing and headed over. After the few of them settled those people from secluded palace and the Ren family's guards, they returned back to the Gu residence. The Gu residence was after all barbaric blood-bone king's turf. And there were Gu residence's secret guards stationed there. Even if Ren Jianying tried to attack the Gu residence several times, she was totally unable to do so. Yiqing Luo found a chair in the main hall to sit down and immediately waved to Miao Xianxian, Xianxian, come over for a moment. If the anti-theft chapter was unable to be refreshed automatically, she could try moving the book out of the bookshelf and then add it again and it would be refreshed. Moi. This chapter ends. Viewing starting episode Zoe new chapter section. Please arrive Tang Ku shop, mobile address. Chapter 4661. Miao Xianxian sat beside Ren Jianming. Hearing Yiqing Luo's voice, she immediately jumped up and jogged towards her. Miao Xuanxuan's identity had been exposed because of Ren Jianying. The people from the secluded palace naturally wouldn't let her off. Hence, Miao Xianxian followed Ren Jianming to the Gu residence. Yiqing Luo held Miao Xuanxuan's hand and looked at the young lady's bright eyes without blinking. She smiled. How much do you know about the witchcraft family? Miao Xianxian tilted her head and pondered for a while. Not much, I've heard about it from the elders in the family. Then have you heard of Elder Wu? Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk when she mentioned the two words, Elder Wu. Miao Xianxian nodded, I've heard of it. This Elder Wu is not only famous in the witchcraft family, even our Miao Gu family has heard of him. Tell me about it. Yiqing Luo rubbed the young lady's fluffy little head. Miao Xianxian seriously pondered over the news she had heard before. I heard. Elder Wu was the most outstanding witchcraft master in the witchcraft family and was highly regarded. Even the Miao Gu family had heard of her genius name. But later on, it seemed that something big happened to the witchcraft family. All the equipment used to refine witchcraft and those reared witchcraft were all burnt clean. Yiqing Luo roughly guessed the second half of the story. Then the witchcraft family found out that the person who set the fire was that outstanding witchcraft master. Elder Wu? Yes. Miao Xuanxuan's eyes lit up. Sister, how did you know? I guessed it. Yiqing Luo pulled Miao Xianxian to sit beside her. Continue. Miao Xianxian sat down obediently and continued, Sister, you are half right. The head of the witchcraft family didn't just discover Venerable Wu and set fire to the witchcraft family, she also discovered the reason why she did it. She intentionally lowered her voice and asked mysteriously, Sister, do you know the reason? Yiqing Luo raised her brows, because she wanted to use the forbidden witchcraft to refine witchcraft. Miao Xianxian immediately drooped her head. Sister, how do you know everything? I guessed it. Yiqing Luo rubbed her chin. No matter where it is, the so-called forbidden technique will always be called as forbidden technique, that is a forbidden technique. To make an aristocratic family, to chase the most outstanding person out of the family, it can only be that person has violated the family's taboo. Miao Xuanxuan's head was still drooping, and her tone was not as cheerful as before. Yes. Elder Wu was chased out of the witchcraft family by the clan leader for refining the forbidden witchcraft spell. He ordered her to never return to the witchcraft family again, and stripped of her surname. Stripped of his surname? Yiqing Luo's brows furrowed slightly. If his surname was stripped, then why was that person still called Old Wu? Yes, the patriarch of the witchcraft family was worried that Venerable Wu would use the forbidden witchcraft technique to do something outrageous after leaving the witchcraft family and affect the reputation of the witchcraft family. Thus, he forbade Venerable Wu from mentioning the witchcraft family after leaving. Miao Xianxian replied. Yiqing Luo seemed to have thought of something as she asked again, then, when Old Wu left the witchcraft family, did he bring along a young lady named Wu Che? Miao Xianxian thought for a while and shook her head. I've never heard of this name. Chapter 4662. Yiqing Luo propped her chin as she pondered deeply for a moment. Qiao Jin looked at her. Why did you suddenly think of asking about witchcraft families? Yan Xiaoyi's eyes brightened slightly. Could it be that you already know who poisoned Captain? Previously, Mo Yuing had told everyone about Long Yunzhan. Everyone also knew that the goo poison in Long Yunzhan's body was not an ordinary goo poison, but a kind of goo that was refined using witchcraft. Yi Qing Luo mentioned the witchcraft family at this moment. It was definitely related to Long Yunzhan. As expected, Yi Qing Luo nodded her head slightly. However, her expression was extremely grim. I did see a goo master from the Dark Abyss Palace, but I can't be sure that she's the one who poisoned Zhan. Yi Qing Luo's vision fell onto Miao Xianxian as she said word by word, that witchcraft master's name is called Old Wu. Miao Xianxian was stunned. The people surrounding them were also stunned. Yi Qing Luo's eyes sunk slightly. Venerable Wu admitted everything too calmly. In addition to Miao Xuanxuan's words, she even started to suspect if the witch goo master called Venerable Wu was really Venerable Wu. Those who were chased out by the witchcraft aristocratic families could no longer use their former names, and they had to be stripped of the surname witchcraft. However, Elder Wu and Wu Che had openly adopted the surname Wu. It doesn't matter if that Elder Wu is the one who cast the voodoo spell on Captain. We have to find him sooner or later. Yan Xiaoyi pursed her lips and stood up suddenly. Aren't we rushing to the land domain? Let's go to the earth domain first and let Xianxian return to the Miaogu family to ask about what happened in the past. Ren Jianying of the Ren family was no longer around. On the surface, the entire heaven realm was in the hands of Ren Jianying, but in reality, it was in the hands of the Palace of Darkness. Ren Jianying wanting to attack the land domain was also the idea of the Palace of Darkness. Even if Ren Jianying wasn't there, the heaven realm's plan to attack the earth realm and invade the earth realm would not change. They still had to go to the earth realm to stop the Palace of Darkness plan. Yi Qing Luo nodded her head as she raised her hand and rubbed Miao Xuanxuan's little head. Then let's return to the earth domain first. As for the Miao Gu family's side, I need you to inquire about it. After all, the Miao Gu family was a force in the earth domain. There was still a huge gap between them and the witchcraft family. In addition, the witchcraft clan was also proficient in witchcraft. The Miaogu clan was no match for the witchcraft clan. It was better to go to the Miaogu clan first and figure out the true identity of that Magus elder before making a decision. Earth domain. Ren Jianming heard their conversation and his expression congealed slightly as he stood up. Great bone. Yi Qing Luo, have you forgotten something? The gazes of Qiao Jin and the others swiftly turned towards Ren Jianming. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand. We'll talk later. Ren Jianming pursed his lips, glanced at them, then turned around and left the main hall. When he reached the door, he stopped and said with his back facing her, I'll wait for you outside. Yi Qing Luo stood up. Go and prepare first. We will set off for the earth domain tomorrow. Huangfu Sheng and Gu Zishi had long wanted to visit everyone in the earth domain. After exchanging greetings, they held hands and left. Yan Xiaoyi looked outside the door and looked at Yi Qing Luo. He doesn't want to leave the heaven realm? Yi Qing Luo's brows drooped slightly. It's not that he doesn't want to, but he can't. Chapter 46-63. Yan Xiaoyi clicked her tongue. Look at his nervous look, you'd better hurry over. Yi Qing Luo bent down and planted a kiss on the man's lips. Then, she put a hand on his shoulder and straightened up. Wait for me. Di Zun, who had been soothed by the kiss, didn't get jealous again. Yi Qing Luo stroked its fur and walked out of the main hall. Ren Jianming stood at the door with his back against it. He lowered his head and covered half of his face. However, it could be seen that he was not in a good mood. Yi Qing Luo walked forward and said, I will not forget about saving old man Song. Then you're going to the earth domain? Ren Jianming hurriedly followed behind him. If you go to the earth domain, what will happen to Tsang Lao? It was until they walked out of the main hall's courtyard when Yi Qing Luo stopped in her tracks and turned her head to look at him. The young girl's expression was very grave. Her usually enchanting and wanton charming eyes were currently as deep as a deep pool. Ren Jianming, you should have heard what I said last time very clearly. You should also understand that old man Song's poisoning isn't ordinary. He won't wake up just because you say so. Ren Jianming's body stiffened slightly. He clenched his fists tightly, and his handsome face darkened. I know, but you can't leave him alone. It's not that I don't care, but I don't have the ability to wake him up yet. Yi Qing Luo's eyes became even more gloomy. It can be said that compared to you, I hope that old man Song can be well. But the prerequisite for old man Song to awaken is to gather all 5 Tsang Shui artifacts. She currently had the azure aqua light chain from Ren Jianming. There were only 4 of them. He was also missing a pair of earrings. Ren Jianming did not know what to say. After a long while, he finally lowered his head and pursed his lips. Then, when do you plan to return? Everything depends on whether the Earth realm is able to defend against the Nether Palace's attack. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. The war between the realms cannot be explained in a few words. The Palace of Gloomy Darkness wanted to invade the land. That would depend on whether the heavenly axiom would allow such a thing that destroyed the balance of the realm to happen. Furthermore, although the Earth realm was below the Heaven realm. Moreover, the difference in strength was huge. However, there were many capable people in the Earth domain. If the Heaven realm wanted to fight this battle, it would not be that easy. I'll stay in the heavenly realm and take care of the old. Ren Jianming clenched his fists even tighter. But I hope that after you return, you will wholeheartedly help the old. I know. Yi Qing Luo's words had just landed. Ren Jianming turned around and left. Yi Qing Luo didn't open her mouth to call him. After remaining silent for a moment, she turned around, intending to return to the main hall to look for Dmo Xian. As soon as she put on her disguise, she crashed into the man's arms. Dmo Xian's hand circled around her waist. Are you done? Are you eavesdropping? He just left and you came out, such a coincidence. Yi Qing Luo raised her head suspiciously as she squinted her eyes at him. Dmo Xian's expression did not change. Coincidence? As if I'd believe you, you're so bad. Yi Qing Luo pouted her lips, not believing his nonsense. Dmo Xian's brows creased slightly as he looked at him. Rotten old man? Yi Qing Luo. She just felt that it was convenient to say. She didn't want to argue with Dmo Xian on this sentence as she quickly took out the azure aqua light chain and raised it up, waving it in front of Dmo Xian. I've already obtained the 4th azure aqua god relic. You say the 5th god relic. Where is it? Dmo Xian's hand, which was clasped around her waist, suddenly tightened. Chapter 46-64. Yi Qing Luo was shocked and let go of the azure aqua light chain. What's wrong? There's something on it. Dmo Xian released her waist, as his eyes congealed as he looked at the azure aqua light chain in his palm. As he frowned slightly, this azure aqua light chain has already been contaminated by the profound yin qi of the Nether Palace. Pollution? Yi Qing Luo was stunned. No wonder she felt that there was something wrong with the flowing light on the azure water light chain. But he couldn't tell what was wrong. After all, it was her first time seeing the azure aqua light chain's true form. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as her long and narrow eyes squinted. No wonder. Back then it was too easy for me to get the azure aqua light chain. That Grand Elder was rather annoyed that Ren Jianming was a waste, but he had no intention to snatch it away. As it turned out, the azure aqua light chain was a bait from the start. Bait to get her hooked. First, he used the azure water light chain to lure her to the old city. It would be great if Ren Jianming could deal with her. If Ren Jianming fell into her hands, the azure aqua light chain would be taken away. In that case, he still had a backup plan. If she really formed a contract with the azure aqua light chain and fused with its power, the mysterious yin qi would also follow the power of her azure aqua light chain and enter her body. For her, the secluded darkness palace had really used all kinds of tricks. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched as her face revealed a cold smile. Fortunately, Dmo Xian was by her side. Otherwise, he might really fall for it. Yi Qing Luo looked at Dmo Xian's tightly clenched palms and revealed a worried expression, then. This thing won't affect you? It's nothing. Dmo Xian's expression sunk slightly. I'll go remove the profound yin qi from this first, wait for me. Yi Qing Luo nodded, I know you're very powerful, but don't force yourself. If you can't do it, we'll think of another way. There's no hurry to use the Azure Aqua Light Chain's power now. Dmo Xian went to settle the matter regarding the Azure Aqua Light Chain. Yi Qing Luo asked Qi Qi to bring her to where Old Man Sung's body was. Old Man Sung lay on the ice bed with his eyes closed, as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. She slowly walked to the side of the ice bed and slowly sat down. Her slender, jade-like fingers lightly stroked the azure dew bracelet. She sighed softly and said, just one more artifact, and then you can become a real human, lass, don't worry. Old Sung floated out from the azure dew bracelet. Don't put all the responsibility on yourself. I promised you and Renjianying. Of course, I have to do it. Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly, but, after you become a real person, this azure dew bracelet, won't it have no protector? You will protect the azure dew bracelet, won't you? Old Man Sung floated to Yi Qing Luo's side and sat down. The illusory body was as light as smoke. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head and took a look at him, of course. Old Man Sung leaned his incorporeal head against the ice bed. Looking at the two identical faces on and under the ice bed, Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laughed. Lass, are you tired? The person beside him suddenly asked softly. There was a hint of melancholy in his tone. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes suddenly trembled, the expression on her face slightly stiffened. This was a relative like her elder. In other people's eyes, they could only see her bright and beautiful. But, only Old Man Sung would care about whether she was tired or not. After a long while, her lips curled up and she laughed lightly, tired, how can I not be tired, but, I'm already used to it. Chapter 46-65. Ever since she came to this world, she seemed to be constantly on the move. There were all sorts of things that came one after another. But, so what about it? She had been reborn. In this strange world, she got to know everyone. She had the kinship, friendship and love that she didn't even dare to think about. What else was there to be discontented with? She had once heard of a saying. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Her background destined her to be extraordinary. Her ability destined her to take on many things that she was unable to take on. But, she had to take on it. This was her destiny. She couldn't avoid it. Lass. Old Man Sung's voice was rather light. Yi Qing Luo closed her eyes, stretched out her hand and gently held the hand of the person on the ice bed, as she said gently, I will not let myself fall. Actually, what that old Wu said was very right. The people around her, all because of her, were schemed against by the secluded palace. And because of her, their lives were in danger so many times. If it wasn't because of her, Long Yunzhan might not have such a fate. Everyone had the possibility to live peacefully, and not be like this, wandering from place to place. But, even if that was the case, so what about it? She had never regretted appearing in front of the brothers whom she knew. And would never regret becoming their brothers. Even if she had to do it all over again. She would still make the same choice. Because they were brothers. So, no matter how tired she was, she would do her best to protect everyone whom she cared about. She would not fall. You lass. Really silly. Old Man Sung looked at the young lady, unable to describe the feeling in his heart, to tell the truth, to let me become a real human, to leave you. I really can't bear to. He had been accompanying Yi Qing Luo for a long period of time. He had witnessed all of Yi Qing Luo's growth. He couldn't imagine what it would be like if he wasn't by Yi Qing Luo's side. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head to look at him, as her gaze was firm. After you become a real human, then you will be able to help me better, isn't it? At least by then, if I suffer any grievances, I can still throw myself into your arms and cry. You should be thankful that you don't make others cry. Old man Sung's mouth was filled with disdain, but in his mind, he unconsciously followed Yiqing Luo's words and imagined that kind of scene. Indeed. I look forward to it. Old man Sung sighed softly and used his spiritual body to rest on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Although he could not feel it. But this action, Yiqing Luo understood what he was trying to express. Luo girl, you will definitely become someone stronger than Venerable Sovereign in the future. Old man Sung looked at her solemnly. Yiqing Luo tilted her head and looked at the hand on her shoulder. Stronger than Xian? I'm afraid that even if my mother was alive, she wouldn't be a match for Xian. Her family's Xian was simply a cheat code. It was too heaven-defying. Until now, she still did not know Xian's true strength. Stronger than Xian? I'm not rich, I'll never be rich in this lifetime. Old man Sung simply smiled. After the matters in the land have been settled, I will follow that map and search for the tomb of the Divine Emperor with you. At the mention of the Tianshu map, Yiqing Luo's eyelashes drooped slightly. After a while, she nodded. All right. The Divine Emperor's tomb, she definitely had to search for it. After all, the Divine Emperor's tomb was her mother's tomb. And her mother had placed the map to the Divine Emperor's tomb on her. Chapter 46-66. This must be his mother's intention. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes drooped slightly, as her lips curled up slightly. The arc between her brows was like a rippling beauty. Don't worry about me. No matter what, I won't be fighting alone, right? The girl's voice was clear and calm. It was as if he was just saying something natural. Old man Sung gazed deeply at her for a long time. In the end, his eyes rippled with emotion as he slowly nodded, yes. She would never fight alone. It didn't matter if he was in a spiritual body state. Or turn into a human. As an elder, he would stay by her side without any hesitation. The man and the spirit body looked at each other and smiled. He then leaned against the ice bed and closed his eyes, enjoying this rare moment of peace and tranquility. An hour later, this peace was broken by Ren Jianming, who walked in from outside. Ren Jianming seemed to be much more dejected. When he saw Yiqing Luo, his expression was slightly stunned, as though he had not expected Yiqing Luo to appear here. Why are you here? Ren Jianming took quick steps forward, took a look at Yiqing Luo, and then looked at old man Sung who was lying on the ice bed. Yiqing Luo tilted her head. I'm going to the earth boundary tomorrow, so I specially came over to bid farewell to him. Ren Jianming responded indifferently. He didn't know what kind of attitude he should use to face Yiqing Luo, who went back on her words. But Yiqing Luo didn't stay for too long. He gave Ren Jianming a few reminders and gave him some first aid pills. Then he left the place. Just as he reached the corner, Ren Jianming suddenly said, I, and old Song will wait for your return. This trip. Just how dangerous was the road ahead? No one knew. Perhaps he would die on the battlefield. That also meant that it was very likely that the old man would never be able to wake up. But he was unable to stop Yiqing Luo from doing what she wanted to do. He couldn't stop it. So he could only choose to believe in Yiqing Luo. He believed that she would definitely return safely. Yiqing Luo's footsteps paused slightly as she glanced sideways. Her long and narrow eyes seemed to be condensing a vivid light. She raised her pink lips and said firmly, yes, I'll be back. Definitely. Night. Yiqing Luo paced around the room with an anxious expression. Chi-Chi lay on her shoulder and stroked her back with her furry tail. Dmo Xian had yet to return. Yiqing Luo believed in Dmo Xian's ability. However, in the face of the treacherous and cunning palace of Abyss Palace, all sorts of sinister tricks emerged one after another. She was very worried that the Deep Yin Chi wasn't the only pit on the deep aqua light chain. At that time, Dmo Xian had dragged the azure aqua light chain away. She also hadn't clearly seen the situation on the azure water light chain. What if there was another trap waiting for him after he dealt with the mysterious Enchi? Chapter 46-67. Like. Very much. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with a faint smile, that was a unique gentle smile towards Dmo Xian. Like how Chi likes master? Chi tilted her head. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly, yes. Chi made a few soft sounds and rubbed her head against Yiqing Luo's arms, then Chi will accompany master to wait for Overlord Master. Just as she was saying that, a figure suddenly flashed outside the window. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up as she immediately got up and greeted him. But the air was not filled with a familiar smell. The joyous expression on her face faded away bit by bit. Bloodbone Barbaric King walked in, bringing along a cold aura of the night. Yiqing Luo looked at his expressionless face and her heart thumped hard. You. Why are you here? Bloodbone Barbaric King walked slowly to the table and sat down. Following that, he placed something on the table. Under the flickering candlelight, a brilliant necklace, sparkling with a strange glow. Yiqing Luo's body suddenly tensed up. Her eyes stared at the item on the table without blinking. Where is he? Yiqing Luo didn't touch the necklace on the table but looked at Bloodbone Barbaric King with a sunken face. Bloodbone Barbaric King's fingertip touched that resounding necklace lightly. He has something on. What is it? He has time to send the Azure Aqua Light Chain to you but has no time to look for me. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips, her voice was very dry. Yes. That necklace. It was the Azure Aqua Light Chain that Dmo Xian took away. But Dmo Xian asked Bloodbone Barbaric King to send the Azure Aqua Light Chain back. Then, why didn't he come back? Bloodbone Barbaric King looked at her calmly. Don't let your imagination run wild, he's fine. If he's fine, why didn't he pass the Azure Aqua Light Chain to me personally? Is he injured because of the Azure Aqua Light Chain? Afraid that I'll be worried so he doesn't dare to come and see me? Yiqing Luo's pink lips were pursed tighter and tighter. Doesn't he know that under the situation where I don't know anything, I will only be more worried about him? Yiqing Luo took a deep breath and strode to the table, holding the Azure Aqua Light Chain in one hand. Bring me to him. This god knew you would be like this. The Bloodbone Barbaric King was a little helpless. I've already said that I can't help him bring the things to you. You'll think too much, but he seems to have something very urgent, so he could only ask me to bring the things to you. What's the matter? Yiqing Luo clenched her fist. How would this god know what it is? The barbaric Bloodbone King didn't seem to care. I don't care about his matters. It's just that he asked me to pass this divine weapon that belonged to Feng Gu to you, so I helped him run this errand. Yiqing Luo lowered her head and looked at the brilliant light chain on her fingertips. She rushed out of the room and was about to chase after him. The Bloodbone Barbaric King immediately chased after her and stopped her. We still have to go to the Earth Domain tomorrow. Where are you going? I want to see Ah Xian. I can only be assured after I'm sure that he's all right. Yiqing Luo bit her lower lip as her charming eyes were filled with determination. Ah Xian, that idiot, always endured everything just to protect her. He always refused to tell her anything. He's really all right. The Bloodbone Barbaric King pressed his hands on her shoulders. You don't believe this god? Yiqing Luo didn't say a word. The Bloodbone Barbaric King said each word seriously. At least, when he passed this necklace to this god, he was all right. At that time he came in a hurry and passed the necklace to this god. He only said one sentence. To let you go to the Earth Domain first. He would come later and left in a hurry. This book came from Chapter 46-68. That's right, at that time. I saw a disciple of the Imperial Palace waiting for him. The Bloodbone Barbaric Monarch added as if he had recalled something. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk. A disciple of the Imperial Palace? Dmo Xian left in a hurry with the Imperial Palace's disciples? Did something happen to the Arch Palace? Otherwise, why would Dmo Xian not even have the chance to see her? Since the Overlord had asked you to believe in him, you should believe in him. Blood-Bone Barbaric King looked at Yiqing Luo's ugly expression and comforted her. Yiqing Luo shook her head, her slender fingers, one by one, tightly gripped the azure aqua light chain in her hands. Her eyes were a little gloomy. I will be worried about him. He knows that you will be worried about him, but Qing Luo. You should be clear that your responsibility is not only because of your feelings, you are shouldering too many things. Barbaric Blood-Bone King patted Yiqing Luo's shoulder lightly. If you don't need to go to the Earth Realm, this god believes that the Overlord will definitely bring you along to the Imperial Palace, to accompany him. But you must go to the Earth Realm, and you must go. Yiqing Luo's heart thumped hard. That was right, she had to go to the Earth domain. It was her unavoidable responsibility. Actually, you don't have to worry. Barbaric Blood-Bone King looked at Yiqing Luo indifferently. His strength is unfathomable. Even this god is unable to see through his true realm. After all, the Blood-Bone Barbarian King was someone from the divine world. Even after being sealed for 10,000 years. His own strength was there. However, he still could not see through Dmo Xian's profound grade and strength. Even from Dmo Xian's body, they could not sense any profound chi fluctuations at all. Under such circumstances, there were only two possibilities. Firstly, Dmo Xian was an ordinary person without any profound energy. Secondly, Dmo Xian's strength was above him. With Dmo Xian's reputation, it was definitely not the first one. Then there was only the second possibility. Go and rest. We still have to go to the Earth domain tomorrow morning. The Barbaric Blood King pressed her shoulder and pushed her back to her room. Yiqing Luo's footsteps walked back step by step. His heart was heavy and uncomfortable. Her Xian, no matter what decision she made, he would support her without hesitation and stand behind her unconditionally. Whenever she needed help, he was always ready to help. But she, even though he had come this far, he had grown to such an extent. She was still unable to help Dmo Xian. I heard the conversation between you and Chi-Chi just now. The Barbaric Blood-Bone King pressed her onto a chair and sat down beside her. You and Dizun are indeed very close. He paused and seemed to hesitate for a long time before asking, why did you choose to be with him? Regarding the matters of the outside world, the Barbaric Blood-Bone King did not understand. However, he had heard of His Majesty's name countless times during this period of time. He's always been good. Dizun was famous in the three realms, mysterious, powerful, and lofty. How could he fall in love with a little girl from an inferior world? No matter how devastatingly beautiful Yiqing Luo was. For people like Dizun, it wasn't like he hadn't seen any ladies who were more beautiful than Yiqing Luo. But the Overlord had chosen Yiqing Luo. Out of concern for Yiqing Luo, the Barbaric Blood-Bone King felt that it was necessary for him to clarify this matter. After all, such feelings, the disparity was too great, but they loved each other so much. He had no choice but to suspect the Overlord's real motive for Yiqing Luo, /HTML/book/43/43766/L. Chapter 4669. Perhaps it's because fate has decided it. Cell phone. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes as she looked at the azure aqua light chain in her palm, which seemed to be tainted with a man's presence as her gaze gradually softened. From the first time I met him, we were already fated to be together. The first time they met. Then, he put his pair of mandarin duck rings on her hands. And because of that, he handed his entire life over to her. This was the fate that was fated. Blood-Bone Barbaric King muttered the words, fated, softly. The expression on his face was a little bitter. As though he had recalled the scenes that year. Yiqing Luo didn't say another word. She looked at the azure aqua light chain for a long time. Then she slowly wore the azure aqua light chain around her neck. She shut her eyes as she suppressed the surging impulse in her heart. Now that things had come to this, she could only trust Dmo Xian. Trust that after he settled all the matters, he would go to the Earth realm to look for her. Her hand gently caressed the profound phoenix ring on her fingertips. As though through the profound phoenix ring, she was able to transmit her longing to him. I can tell that you really love him. Bloodbone Barbaric King gave a low chuckle. He said, love and not like. Yiqing Luo smiled as she calmly nodded, yes, I love him. She raised her hands slightly and pressed her lips on the profound phoenix ring as her voice was gentle as she said word by word, in the past, I never believed in the so-called feelings in this world. But, after meeting him, I believe it. No one will be like him, accepting everything about me. And making his biggest concession and change for me. Obviously, a highly respected and secretive existence like Dmo Xian. But time and time again, he broke his own bottom line for her. Caring for her, caring for her. Even more so, he placed everyone whom she cared about in his heart. His possessiveness was very strong. He wished to monopolize her. But it was to make her happy. To be able to coexist peacefully with the world group whom she cared about. Everything about him revolved around her. That silly man, for her, had really sacrificed a lot. A lot. Bloodbone Barbaric King looked at Yiqing Luo's current expression. From her eyes, one could tell just how sincere her feelings towards Dmo Xian were. Such a gaze. He had seen it in Feng Ge's eyes before. However, he was not the only one who made Feng Ge look at him like that. Looking at the face that was almost similar to Feng Ge's. The barbaric Bloodbone King's eyes gradually became hazy. His thoughts seemed to fly back to that period of time in the past. Thinking of my mother again? Yiqing Luo tilted her head to look at Bloodbone Barbaric King as her lips curled into an arc. If Mother knew that you loved her so much, if she could do it all over again, back then she would definitely choose you. The barbaric Bloodbone King's eyes narrowed. A self-deprecating look appeared on his handsome face. He shook his head. She will only have familial love for me forever. Familial love will never become love. He knew Feng Ge too well. He would never make such a conjecture. Even if he had to do it all over again. Even without Ah Huang. There would be a second Ah Huang and a third Ah Huang. In short, it would never be him. Looking at the self-deprecating expression on the barbaric Bloodbone King's face. For a moment, Yiqing Luo didn't know how to console her. As for the relationship between his mother and the barbaric Bloodbone King, what she knew was only a superficial part of it. Don't look at this god with such a pitiful gaze. The emotions in the barbaric Bloodbone King's eyes had already regained its calmness as his lips curled slightly. This god already knew the ending, but I have never regretted my own choice. /HTML/book/43/43766/L Chapter 4670. Even if she doesn't love you? Yiqing Luo asked curiously. Yes, even if she doesn't love me. Bloodbone Barbaric King's tone was firm. I have hated her for thousands of years, but I have never regretted falling in love with her. That firm tone. That firm gaze. All of them were expressing his feelings. Yiqing Luo stretched her waist, the expression on her face was no longer tensed. All right, you have successfully comforted me, I will not let my imagination run wild anymore. She knew that when Bloodbone Barbaric King asked her about her feelings towards Dmo Xian, it wasn't just because of his suspicions towards Dmo Xian. After such a long time, Bloodbone Barbaric King could naturally tell the feelings between Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian. Other than doubting Dmo Xian's original intention, the most important thing was to unknowingly comfort her. Since she loved Dmo Xian so deeply, then she should believe in Dmo Xian. Believe that he would not bear to let her be upset. Believe that no matter what, he would take good care of himself. Then, he would return to her side safely. Bloodbone Barbaric King stood up, "Have a good rest." Saying that, he left the room. Yiqing Luo hugged Chi and leaned against the bed for a while before she slowly closed her eyes and forced herself to rest. The next day, the group of people were ready to set off. Other than Ren Jianming, who stayed behind, everyone else headed towards the Earth realm. Yiqing Luo instructed Ren Jianming not to leave the hiding place no matter what. If the Heaven realm wasn't Ren Jianming's home ground, they would definitely dig 3 feet into the ground to catch Ren Jianming. After all, based on Ren Jianming's rebirth experience, how many times had she wanted to catch Ren Jianming? She had also said that Ren Jianming was a variable in the Heaven realm. The secluded palace would not allow any variable to exist. When the group saw that Yiqing Luo was alone and saw her exhausted look, apparently she didn't sleep well last night, they tactfully didn't mention Dmo Xian. Right, why haven't Master Gui Wu and Zhou Mo returned yet? Yiqing Luo looked at Xiao Jin and asked in puzzlement. It seemed that ever since the Heaven realm, she hadn't seen Gui Wu and the rest. Even her cat had no idea where Zhou Mo had abducted it. With Master Gui Wu and Ghost Bandit around, there shouldn't be any problems, Xiao Jin replied. Indeed, those people were there. Her cat should be fine too. Yiqing Luo directly took out the sacred beast bead in the Gu residence and activated the passageway to the realm. In the Earth domain, the flames of war continued unabated, and killing intent rose and fell. The sky was filled with blood and profound ripples, causing people to be overwhelmed with shock. The minute Yiqing Luo and the others reached the Earth boundary, they were shocked by the scene in front of them so much that they almost couldn't regain their senses. The Earth realm and the Heaven realm had already started a war. Furthermore, from the looks of it, it was obvious that the Earth domain was no longer a match for them. Were they trying to destroy the land or invade it? Gu Zixi and Huangfu Xing's faces turned livid. Their eyes clenched tightly into fists, and after exchanging glances with one another, they opened their mouths towards Yiqing Luo. "Let's make a trip back to the treasures gathering trading hall first." And the Qiao family. An bloody mercenary group. Looking at the flames of war that filled the sky. The once glorious realm main city was now desolate and filled with ruins. Yiqing Luo looked at the few people behind her as she muttered to herself for some time. Then she opened her mouth to arrange, "Jin Zi, Shao Yi, the two of you first protect Xian back to the Miao Gu family and ask them clearly about the matter regarding Elder Wu. This might be related to the heart-devouring parasite in Ah Zhan's body." This book came from Chapter 4671. Then what about you? Yan Shao Yi pursed her lips. "Where are you going alone?" Yiqing Luo's expression was grave. "Don't worry about me, I'll make a trip to the Hell Palace." The Earth realm and Heaven realm were fighting. The Hell Palace was a strange existence in the Earth realm. She wondered if that bunch of lunatics from the Hell Palace would interfere in this war. Now the situation in the Earth realm is not clear. If we split up, there's a possibility. Xiao Jin's face was filled with hesitation. He who had already reverted back to his original appearance, even if he was frowning, he still had a different kind of handsomeness. Yiqing Luo raised her hand to stop his words. "I have a blink movement secret art. Even if the people from the secluded palace discover my existence, they will not be able to catch me. But you guys must be careful." The few of them exhorted one another for a while and went their separate ways. After sending Yan Shao Yi and the other two off with her eyes, Yiqing Luo followed Dmo Xian's memory of bringing her to the Hell Palace and arrived at the Hell Palace. Compared to the outside world where the flames of war continued, the Hell Palace's side was not affected much. The pitch-black space was filled with a strange evil qi. Yiqing Luo headed towards the pitch-black space and walked for a long distance. Her mind was calculating the exact location of the Hell Palace's door, which appeared out of thin air the last time she was here. She had yet to get close. Suddenly, she heard a loud roar reverberating in the space. "Who dares to barge into the Hell Palace? Are you here to create trouble? Or are you here to fight with us? Very good. It was a familiar formula. A familiar opening line. Yi Qing Luo was completely sure now. This war between the Heaven Realm and Earth Realm. It had no influence on the Hell Palace. The Hell Palace's door opened. An old man rushed out. His body was still the familiar dirty mess, a head of messy hair scattered behind him, giving off a moldy smell. That man rushed to Yi Qing Luo, raised the big machete in his hand and chopped downwards. Yi Qing Luo. She moved her leg, lifted her leg, and kicked that person's body. A bam sound was heard. That man fell heavily onto the ground. F***K. Oh no, help, the person who is causing trouble is too strong. The old man sprawled on the ground. Hell Palace's lord, save me, save me. Yi Qing Luo. She didn't use any strength at all, okay? Wasn't her acting a little too much? Following the old man's sorrowful wails. After a while, hurried footsteps could be heard coming from the underworld palace. About 5 unkempt old men rushed out. Aren't those fools fighting with the Heaven Realm outside? Who would come to the underworld palace to cause trouble? The old man in the lead said impatiently. The 5 of them walked out. The old man who was howling on the ground immediately got up from the ground and scurried to the back of the 5 people. It's her. That's her. Coming to the underworld palace alone to cause trouble, he must be an expert. Yi Qing Luo, who was alone. Was this the reason why he was acting like a drama queen? In the darkness, the faces of both sides could not be seen clearly. The old man in the lead slowly walked towards Yi Qing Luo and was just about to open his mouth. He heard a familiar and clear voice, "Old Lai, long time no see." The old man in the lead immediately stiffened. His eyes widened in disbelief as he asked tentatively, "Madam?" "Madam?" The man in the lead was Old Lai. The minute he opened his mouth, Yi Qing Luo recognized his voice. Old Lai's sleeves moved and lit the candle on the rock wall. Under the dim light, the young girl's beautiful face was slowly reflected in the eyes of the few people present. This book came from Chapter 4672. The red-robed black-haired young lady was dazzling in this pitch-black space. Old Lai rushed to Yi Qing Luo. "Imperial Madam, is it really you? Why are you here?" He kicked away the few old men beside him. "Quick, quick, quick, please come in, come in." Yi Qing Luo didn't stand on ceremony with Old Lai. She followed behind Old Lai and entered the Hell Palace. In the Hell Palace, there was a treacherous and gloomy atmosphere. Only after a long distance did he light a candle. The dim light made it hard to see the ground clearly. Old Lai was obviously very excited. As he led the way, he kept talking about the current situation in the Earth domain. For example, ever since Yi Qing Luo left the Earth domain, Qiao family took over the treasure exchange house. But it was still under Pei Xing's name. For example, ever since Yi Qing Luo left the Earth domain, Qiao family passed the election and became without embroiling city lord. Another example was that not long later, the entire Earth domain would probably merge into 3 cities. And so on and so forth. Yi Qing Luo had been listening quietly. The few old men behind her were also quiet and didn't dare to interrupt Old Lai's words. Until Old Lai finally finished his words, he turned to look at Yi Qing Luo and asked curiously, "Imperial Madam, didn't you go to the Heaven Realm? Why are you back so soon? How is it? Is the Heaven Realm fun?" Looking at the old man's excited expression, Yi Qing Luo sighed softly. "Don't you know very well why I am back?" A light voice sounded faintly in the quiet passageway. It gave off a feeling of illusory nothingness. Old Lai's voice paused as he turned his head and walked in front. The flickering candlelight swayed, elongating his figure. Yi Qing Luo followed behind and continued, "The Heaven Realm has been invaded by the Dark Palace and they have their eyes on the Earth domain, so I came to the Earth domain." She paused and suddenly took 2 quick steps forward as she raised her hand and pressed on Old Lai's shoulder. the Earth domain has already become like this. I don't believe you don't know. Old Lai stopped and turned around. He tilted his head and looked at the hand on his shoulder. His voice was flat and cold. Yes, I know about the current situation in the land. If you know, why didn't you make a move? Yiqing Luo didn't know if she was blaming or questioning. From the moment she stepped into the Underworld Palace, she knew that the Underworld Palace did not plan to participate in the dispute between the two realms. The war could not affect them. They also didn't want to influence the war. In the current situation in the land, this was a strange existence. Lao Lai walked forward again. As he walked, his voice was very calm and indifferent. Why? I just don't want to pay attention to this kind of boring fight. To you, the bigger the scene, the more exciting it is, isn't it? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she caught the loophole in Old Lai's words. Lao Lai turned to look at her. Even if you know, don't say it out loud. It's not easy for me to find a decent excuse. Yiqing Luo laughed. You're still the same as before, you haven't changed at all. However, you've changed. Lao Lai looked her up and down. Compared to the last time I saw you, you are, even more beautiful. This wasn't a compliment. But Yiqing Luo's temperament was totally different. As though she had been reborn. She gave off a confident and ostentatious feeling. This kind of ostentatious feeling wasn't repulsive. This book came from Chapter 4673. I'm guessing that Madam Empress has obtained an opportunity in the heaven realm and advanced. Old Lai looked at Yiqing Luo as he clicked his tongue and shook his head. Initially when I heard that you were captured, I wasn't worried at all. Anyway, you're a freak. Even if you were captured, you might have advanced or broken through in the process. Cell phone. Yiqing Luo. Are you sure it's not because you have Hell Palace's eyes in the heaven realm? Old Lai replied, even if you've seen through it, it's not easy to pretend to be deep. Yiqing Luo. This old man was still as amusing as usual. The group of them walked into the Hell Palace. When they reached the Hell Palace, the surroundings were no longer pitch black like before. The surroundings were brightly lit, and tent-like houses were scattered all over the place. What made Yiqing Luo speechless was outside these messy tents, rubbish, food or messy daily necessities were all piled up on the entire street. Yiqing Luo could even see worms wriggling nearby. Yiqing Luo. Staying in this kind of place, it was no wonder that they looked like unkempt beggars. Had she entered a beggar's den? Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. Along the way, there were quite a number of people who shot strange glances at her. Towards this bright and beautiful lady, they expressed their goodwill. Their beggar's den. Pooey, it's Hell Palace. How long had it been since a lady came to them? Not right. It should be. Not a single lady had come. There was no lady who could stay here for a joss stick's time. This young lady was brought here by the Hell Palace's lord? Could it be that she was kidnapped? 10 over unkempt beggars started to flock over. Their faces were filled with curiosity and suspicions towards Yiqing Luo. Some of them went up to Old Lai and those few old men behind him, trying to find out about the lady's identity. Those who went up to Old Lai had a fawning smile on their faces. Hell Palace's lord, don't tell me you saw that we've been alone for too long and specially kidnapped a delicate young lady from the outside for us to satisfy our cravings? While saying these lewd words, that person's gaze swept past Yiqing Luo from head to toe. His blatant gaze made Yiqing Luo frown slightly. A hint of displeasure appeared in his eyes. Lao Lai's face changed, and he punched the man in the face. Get lost. I'll turn anyone who dares to let their imagination run wild and disrespect Madame D. The man was sent flying and fell to the ground, crying out in pain. The other dozens of people were stunned. For a moment, no one dared to tease him anymore. Even those dirty looks in his eyes were all retracted. Old Lai looked at Yiqing Luo smilingly. Don't bother about them, they're just a bunch of perverts who hadn't seen a woman for 800 years. Saying that, he led Yiqing Luo to the largest, and slightly cleaner tent area. Imperial Madam, please take a rest here. I'll get someone to clean up the place. Old Lai dragged out a wooden stool from the tent and tugged his sleeves as he wiped the stool fiercely before passing it over to Yiqing Luo's side. Yiqing Luo. Actually, she didn't want to sit. She took a look at the dirty and messy environment in the Hell Palace as she rubbed her forehead. No need to trouble yourself. I'm just here to meet you, to understand the current situation in the Earth domain. I have to rush back now, /HTML/book/43/43766/L. Chapter 4674. Imperial Madam, you're going to intervene in the war between the two realms? An old man who was following behind Old Lai understood the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words. Yiqing Luo nodded. After all, in this war, I also have a responsibility. Most importantly, her gaze fell on Old Lai. I don't want Tenebrous Palace to get what they want. If Tenebrous Palace really wants to rule the three realms and become the master of the three realms, I won't be any better off. It was very likely that she would be the first target. Lao Lai and the others fell silent. Yiqing Luo spoke out calmly. The reason why I'm here is not to persuade you to intervene in this war. Old Lai looked at Yiqing Luo as he pursed his lips tightly. After a long while, he sighed and said, forget it, you will find out sooner or later. He said, I know what you mean. There is enmity between the Palace of Darkness and our Underworld Palace. Last time, they used the Underworld Palace to kill so many people of our Underworld Palace. Logically speaking, when we see the Palace of Darkness, we should kill them. But, Lao Lai rubbed his forehead. There was some worry on his aged face. It is impossible for the land to win this war. Because they couldn't win. He didn't dare to gamble with the Underworld Palace. The outside world all said that the people from the Underworld Palace were a bunch of lunatics. He was not afraid of death. However, they were not afraid of their own deaths. They didn't want to see their brothers die. Hence, after the representative from the Palace of Gloomy Darkness visited them and made an exchange with them, they considered it for a long time. Or should I decide, he agreed to Palace of Gloomy Darkness request. This battle. The Palace of Gloomy Darkness did not touch them. They would never interfere. He also deliberately forced himself not to care about the war. He listened to the people of Hell Palace talking about their deal with the Palace of Darkness. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't reveal much emotional changes. Everything they said was within her expectations. How many powerhouses are left in the Earth realm? Yiqing Luo understood their actions. If not for the fact that the Palace of Gloomy Darkness's target had always been her. Even if the Palace of Darkness destroyed the world. As long as they didn't provoke her, she couldn't be bothered with them. Lao Lai told him everything he knew in a concise and comprehensive manner. This was because the Heaven Realm, led by the Ren family, had launched an attack on the Land Realm. He had breached the barrier that maintained peace between the two realms. The three main cities of the Earth domain combined into one, with the Qiao family as the leader, to resist them. Although the strength of the Earth realm was not as strong as the Heaven realm. But everyone wanted to protect their home. How could he be willing to give in so easily? In addition, there were many other worldly experts and various forces in the Earth realm who had joined. He also heard that the Qiao family had sent an invincible 100-man team. He actually spent a full 2 days with the Heaven realm. However, the Earth realm had suffered heavy losses. It was very likely that he wouldn't be able to last more than 3 days. Hearing the figure given by Old Lai, Yiqing Luo's expression congealed slightly. The number given by Lao Lai must have been a combination of many factors. The Earth domain probably wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. Looking at Yiqing Luo's tightly knitted brows, Old Lai consoled her, now that you're here in the Earth domain, perhaps the time can be extended by another day. If the Overlord is here, then there's a possibility that the Earth domain can be saved. Yiqing Luo's brows twitched slightly. He has something on. Only a few friends and I are here in the Earth domain. Don't tell me. Imperial Madam hasn't established your own force in the Heaven Realm? Old Lai asked hesitantly when he heard that. Chapter 4675. Yiqing Luo shook her head, no. Lao Lai was silent for a while before he continued, actually, there is another important reason why we agreed to the Palace of Gloomy Shadows request. He looked at Yiqing Luo as he said word by word, I'm guessing that the mastermind behind the secluded Darkness Palace is possibly from God Realm. Immortal world. For them. He was a godlike existence. The Earth Realm could hold out against the Heaven Realm for a day or two. However, if the immortal world were to make a move, no matter if it was the Earth Realm or the Heaven Realm, they would not be able to withstand a single move. This was the God Realm. But, anything related to the God Realm was limited to legends. That was because it had been a very, very long time since anyone from the realm of the gods had appeared. After Old Lai said this, he secretly stared at Yiqing Luo's expression. But when he saw Yiqing Luo, she didn't look surprised at all. You knew about it long ago? Yiqing Luo was indeed not surprised. Guesses about the identity of the person behind the Dark Palace. She and Dmo Xian had already guessed it a few hundred times. Basically, it could be confirmed. They were people from the God Realm. Moreover, it was very likely that it was someone from 10,000 years ago, before the Divine Emperor passed away. You know that the mastermind behind the Nether Palace is from the God Realm, but you definitely don't know that this war is not only because of the mastermind behind the Nether Palace, but also because of a person from the God Realm, right? Old Lai lowered his voice. More than one? That was to say, apart from the people behind the Dark Palace. Were there other people from the divine world who had interfered in this matter? Yiqing Luo's eyes changed slightly. Old Lai chuckled. Then, word by word, he said in an incomparably clear voice, it can be said that this war is actually a war that the God Realm has tacitly agreed to. This war isn't started by the Palace of Umbra. It started by the God Realm. Divine Realm? This news made Yiqing Luo's composed expression change slightly. What you mean is, the one who wants to become the master of the three realms is actually God Realm? The divine world wanted to unify all the planes? Yes. Lao Lai showed a rare solemn expression. This matter involves more than just the personal grudge between us and the Palace of Darkness, no matter how much they resisted. There was no way they could fight back against the God world. Are you sure these news are true? Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she asked in a deep voice. I'm not sure. I don't have any actual evidence. Lao Lai shook his head. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath. In her mind, she sorted out all the information that Lao Lai had told her. He suddenly felt a headache. The Palace of Darkness was pushing her too hard. But at the same time, she was also forcing the Palace of Darkness very hard. One was the Dark Palace. That was enough to make them battered. Who would have thought that it would involve the God Realm? If what Old Lai said was true, the God Realm had tacitly agreed to this war. If she tried to stop him, that would make the entire God Realm their enemy. God Realm, Nyangqin's world. The world she was trying so hard to climb, what a headache. The tiredness from not having a good rest last night arose spontaneously. Yiqing Luo's slender jade-like hand rubbed her aching brows. I will remember everything you said. She waved her hand. You guys continue to hide. I have to make a trip to the Qiao family. You still decided to intervene in this matter? Lao Lai was stunned when he heard Yiqing Luo's words. Yiqing Luo had already walked back to the way she came. Her clear voice was filled with irresistible charm. If I don't intervene, will the Palace of Darkness stop? Even if it is related to the God Realm, I must take part in this war. Dear, this chapter has ended. I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4676. If the person behind this is someone from the god realm, you have no way to go against him. Are you still going to go? Old Lai asked again. Yes. Yi Qing Luo replied without hesitation. If the person behind this is really related to the god realm, I will skin that god realm alive. Old Lai didn't say another word. After Yi Qing Luo left the Hell Palace, she headed straight for the Qiao family. The entire territory had almost turned into a pile of ruins. The flames of war raged in the sky. Blood stained the ground. The howls of the war pets were deafening. It was a horrible sight. Yi Qing Luo sat on Chi-Chi's back and soon arrived at the Qiao family. The Qiao family was considered as the only complete mansion in the entire without embroiling city. To be more precise, within a radius of 500 meters around the Qiao family's mansion, everything was still in its original state. 500 meters away, there were the flames of war in the ruins, and smoke rose from all directions. Because the Qiao family's mansion was not far from the battlefield, it could be said that all the forces who participated in the war were resting and replenishing at the Qiao family's mansion. When Yi Qing Luo rode on Chi-Chi and landed at the entrance of the Qiao family's mansion, it scared the cultivators stationed there. One by one, they held spears and surrounded Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo looked around and got straight to the point. I want to see the Qiao family's patriarch. The cultivators' faces congealed as they looked at this young lady vigilantly. Who are you? Why do you want to see our city lord? Go tell the Qiao family's patriarch that Di Luo is back. Yi Qing Luo explained indifferently. The cultivators looked at each other in dismay, feeling somewhat suspicious. Someone was about to go over to inform. Then, he heard a delicate and cold voice shout, Miss, what kind of place do you think the Qiao family is? Do you think you can see the city lord Qiao whenever you want to? Following that, a lady walked out of the Qiao family's mansion. That lady, even in the midst of the war, was still dressed up exquisitely. Her hair was combed into a complicated and exquisite style with a pearl tassel, swaying as she walked. She was dressed in a long dress, embroidered with exquisite peonies, extremely gorgeous and eye-catching. When they saw that person, the profounders instantly put away their weapons, bowed slightly towards that person, and called out respectfully. Lord Profound Maiden. The woman raised her chin arrogantly, her eyes filled with arrogance. This person is obviously sent by the enemy to disturb the morale of the army. Take him away and kill him. She swept a disdainful glance towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. But when his gaze fell onto Yi Qing Luo, Yi Qing Luo obviously felt the jealousy in the lady's eyes. Yi Qing Luo touched her own face in understanding. Her fair fingers rubbed her chin for a while. She lazily stroked Chi-Chi's fluffy fur and the corners of her mouth curled into a cold smile. Miss, although I know that my face is indeed devastatingly beautiful and can cause chaos in the hearts of the army, but, you don't have to say it out loud. She purposely lengthened the last syllable. She chuckled softly, and her eyes were incomparably bewitching. I am thin-skinned. I'll be shy. The surrounding profounders were speechless. What do you mean by shy? They couldn't see any shyness on this girl's face. She was really narcissistic. That lady's expression sunk, as the malevolence in her eyes deepened. She muttered softly, shameless slut. Following that, she stared at those profounders. Still not dragging her away. The profounders took a look at the lady and adjusted their states. They raised their weapons again, aiming at Yi Qing Luo. Dear, this chapter has ended. I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4677. Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't change much. She leaped up and lightly jumped down from Chi-Chi's back. Her long and narrow eyes rose slightly. Oh? The external enemy hasn't been settled yet and there's already an internal fight? Is this the current quality of the Earth domain? Her fingertips moved. A blazing red fan contrasted with her fair fingers. Looks like we still have to fight. Her pink lips curled slightly as her gaze casually swept towards that lady. If you're hurt anywhere, it's your own responsibility. The young lady's relaxed and smiling expression made that lady's disgust deepened. She was about to respond to Yiqing Luo's words. Suddenly, she heard an uncertain exclamation from the crowd. Could it be? Could it be that you're that red-robed war god? Di Furen, Yiqing Luo? Dressed in a red robe, devastatingly beautiful. A red fan, overflowing with fragrance. Wasn't it referring to the young lady in front of them? When the red-robed war god was mentioned, the surrounding profound practitioners instantly burst into an uproar. Each of them stared at Yiqing Luo, sizing her up, as if they had seen some rare treasure. That gaze made Yiqing Luo unable to maintain the pretentiousness which she had painstakingly put up. And that lady who was addressed as Mysterious Fairy, when she heard the words, red-robed war god, her eyes revealed an obvious disgust. She curled her lips and sneered, now anyone can pretend to be a red-robed war god? Do you think you're a red-robed war god just because you wear a red robe and hold a broken fan? Oh. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Broken fan? Are you sure? Yiqing Luo didn't want to pick a fight. After all, she was returning to the Earth domain to help them fight against the Heaven domain, which was the secluded palace. Fighting in the Qiao residence. Wouldn't that be killing each other? But unfortunately, there had to be a retard who came forward to offer his head. What else could she do? She was in despair. Her glower flame fan was not something to be called a broken fan. Her fingertips suddenly moved. A ray of dazzling light turned into a red flowing light. When it closed in on the woman, it was like a sharp blade, directly brushing past the woman's face. Hiss, the woman didn't have time to react to this sudden attack. The dark ripples directly cut through the woman's face. Viscous blood oozed out. You actually dared to hurt me? The woman covered her face filled with disbelief. Warm blood stained her palm. The woman's eyes were dyed red by the blood. Why are you still standing there? Quickly capture her. She roared furiously at the profound practitioners. However, those profounders weren't as respectful as before. Instead, he stared at Yiqing Luo in a daze. It's really the red-clothed god of war. It's the red-clothed god of war himself. Hurry up and inform City Lord Xiao that the red-clothed battle god has returned. There is hope for the earth. There is hope for the earth. All of the profound practitioners were shouting, red-clothed war god, in excitement. The woman stood to the side like a clown. Her face was filled with shame and anger. Just then, a voice came from afar. What's all this noise about? Are you all in a hurry to die? Why are all of you shouting? City Lord Xiao is here. City Lord Xiao, come over quickly, look who's here. A group of cultivators swarmed towards the direction of the voice. Then they pushed City Lord Xiao Jingming in front of Yiqing Luo. Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading. Big smiley face. Chapter 4678. The 34 to 35-year-old man looked much older now. His face was filled with exhaustion. His eyes were bloodshot. Apparently, he hadn't rested for a long time. When that pair of bloodshot eyes fell onto Yiqing Luo, the young lady's lips curled upwards as she smiled lightly. City Lord Xiao, long time no see. Qiao Jingming went into a daze for a moment. Following that, he almost jumped up as he stared at the young lady in front of him with wide eyes. Imperial Madam. Imperial Madam. You're here. He excitedly rushed to Yiqing Luo as he sized her up from head to toe. Not an impersonator, not a fake. Imperial Madam, why are you back? That look totally didn't look like a dignified and imposing city lord. Congratulations on becoming the lord of the 3 cities. Yiqing Luo nodded as she smiled. Yes, lord of the 3 cities. The current Earth realm no longer had the distinction of 3 cities. Patriarch Xiao had directly upgraded from Patriarch Xiao to City Lord Xiao. And after the 3 cities merged into one, the name was still without embroiling city. As for the reason, Xiao Jingming was too lazy to think about it, so he directly used the name of the city he was in. City Lord Xiao's face was filled with joy. This rascal will definitely be very excited to see you. Let's go in and meet the big guy. Saying that, City Lord Xiao excitedly pulled Yiqing Luo as they walked into the Xiao residence. When they passed by that lady who was addressed as Mysterious Maiden, their footsteps paused slightly. That lady was about to open her mouth to complain to City Lord Xiao. But she heard a young lady's clear voice asking, "City Lord Xiao, who is this lady?" City Lord Xiao glanced at the woman and said, "She is the mysterious lady that the Linglong Palace Hall has groomed. She is also the only mysterious lady left in the Linglong Palace Hall. This time, she specially brought the Linglong Palace Hall's forces to participate in the war." After a simple explanation, he continued to pull Yiqing Luo forward. "Don't bother about her, let's go in first and give everyone a surprise." That unimportant tone was like a heavy slap on that lady's face. Linglong Palace. Mysterious Maiden? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes slightly, as she gave that lady a meaningful look. She had thought that the Linglong Palace had been completely destroyed after she had caused a ruckus at the Linglong Palace and exposed the barbaric Blood King's true identity. Who would have thought that the Linglong Palace still existed? However, the barbaric Blood Bone King did not seem to be in charge of the Linglong Palace anymore. Which faction did the Linglong Palace Hall's forces belong to? City Lord Xiao urged anxiously. Yiqing Luo didn't think any further as she retracted her sizing gaze and followed City Lord Xiao towards the main hall's courtyard. As he walked, he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Come and see who I brought for you." There were many people standing in the courtyard of the main hall. There were also a few others sitting at a stone table, discussing something. When Yiqing Luo was pulled in by City Lord Xiao. When he came face to face with a courtyard full of people. In an instant, the entire noisy courtyard fell silent. "Qing Luo. Madam Qing Luo. Madam Qing Luo." Shouts after shouts broke the silence. Some of them couldn't help but had red eyes. Even their voices were filled with choking sobs. "Madam Qing Luo." Finally, someone couldn't control himself as he dashed towards Yiqing Luo, hugging her tightly. One person moved. 10 over people swarmed forward. City Lord Xiao and the group of cultivators behind him were all dumbstruck when they saw the scene in front of them. "Dear, this chapter has ended, I wish you a happy reading." Big smiley face. Chapter 46-79. 10 over young men and young ladies surrounded that red-robed young lady, bawling their eyes out like children. This scene. It really made one unable to relate. When they were on the battlefield, that austere, ruthless and decisive look. At that time, when they saw this group of young men and young ladies, they were still astonished at their maturity. They felt that they totally didn't look like children of this age. Even when they were facing them. They were all extremely mature. But at this very moment, in front of the young lady, they revealed the emotions that they should have at their age. As though they had finally found the fulcrum that they had been working hard on all along. That red-robed young lady was the fulcrum of this group of young men and young ladies. City Lord Xiao and the cultivators behind him exchanged glances. Then, he quietly retreated. This rare warmth was left to them. Yiqing Luo's current feelings were complicated and touched. He looked at the familiar faces in front of him, which had obviously grown up. His heart felt as if it was being pressed down by something. Very warm. It was so warm that her eyes turned red. In her ears, she could hear their voices calling out her name. Yiqing Luo's lips slowly curled upwards. His gaze slowly swept across the familiar faces in front of him. A smile blossomed on her lips. It was filled with tears, but it was extremely beautiful. Brothers of the World Group, I'm returning to the group. The young lady's clear voice paused after every word, sonorous and forceful. It made everyone's eyes turn red again. After that, one by one, they stood up. All of them were in line with Yiqing Luo's training in the past, standing in a straight line. Then one by one, they opened their mouths. The World Group, Bei Ming Lu Lu. The World Group, Ni Roa Pan. The World Group, Dan Bai Shi. The World Group. The World Group. One by one, the young men and young ladies started to report their names. Their voices were loud and clear, filled with passion. Until the last person reported. The person sitting by the stone table took small steps as she walked step by step to the front of the group. Pink dress, expressionless, lowly raised her head. The little person used a flat voice as she said word by word, the World Group Mo Yuing, the World Group Qiao Jin, the World Group Yan Xiao Yi. She paused for a moment and continued, the World Group Group Leader, Long Yun Zhan. Return to the team. The last two words came out of her mouth. The eyes of the dozens of boys and girls in front of him reddened again. Yiqing Luo slowly walked towards them and stood beside Mo Yuing. He turned around and looked ahead. There was a hint of emotion in the girl's voice as she sobbed. The World Group, Yiqing Luo. Everyone has returned. Everyone's throats tightened and tears streamed down their cheeks. For a moment, they were speechless. It was as if the scene of them fighting side by side in the past appeared before his eyes. Everyone fought together for the honor of the group. He fought to protect the people around him. Fight for yourself. Then, in order to catch up with Yiqing Luo's footsteps. In order to continue fighting side by side. Everything I've been through. It was a memory that they would cherish for the rest of their lives. They had finally come to her side. They had finally fulfilled their promise. Finally, they could once again stand together and fight side by side. This was the agreement of the World Group. This was their agreement. Yiqing Luo stood ramrod straight. She could clearly feel the burning gazes behind her. The sour feeling in her nose made her eyes turn even redder. She shut her eyes forcefully. Following that, her lips slowly curled upwards, revealing a radiant and warm smile as she slowly turned around to look at everyone. Dear, this chapter has ended. I hope you enjoy reading. *0. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.